What was your mum's job when you were a child?
Well, I remember, I don't know when my mum actually worked for the first few years of being a toddler. I can't really remember, but I do remember when both of us were toddlers, preschool. My mum had set up a play group in Rainford, and this play group was for all the children that lived in the junction, Rainford Junction, and I think it was children in the Rainford village as well. And I remember going to this play group, and it was in Rainford Village Hall, and we'd go and there'd be quite a few of the mums there, and it was just basically for all the mums to get together with all the kids. And my mum had set all of this up, and I remember there was like a big wooden play, it was like a climbing frame, and I remember there being bikes and little tractors and things like that there. And I remember one of our Paul's old best friends, Andrew Raven, used to go as well. And I remember once I was just going along on the little trike, and he pushed me off because he wanted to have a go. And I remember our Paul going and squaring up with him, and I think they were best friends from then on in, really. So that was really, you know, when I think about it now, it was fantastic that my mum, obviously, as she always has, put herself out so much for the benefit of her children. And then I remember going to macro as well. Midweek she used to go to macro. I think she'd go about 7 o'clock or something. And I remember my dad had come home from work. My mum had just given us our tea. And then my mum would get ready in a macro jacket, and it was like this mustardy coloured jacket. And Mary McAvoy from across the road would come over and help me dad if he needed to get us ready or whatever. And then my dad would get us ready for bed and give us our baths and put our pyjamas on, and he'd brush me hair, and he'd kill brush me hair. Come on, you know, typical man, you know, no soft woman's touch whatsoever. And I remember her working in macro. And then I remember she had a good friend at the time who lived in Rainford Junction, a lady called Jean D. And her and Jean had this idea to set up a little, it was caravan, but it was for, I can't describe it really, it was like a little, it was in the lay-by on Rainford Bypass. I don't know how you describe it really. It was like a little canteen really, but it was a caravan. And I remember us getting a tow bar on the back of the car fitted so we could tow this caravan to and from. And I remember in the summer holidays, usually me and our Paul would go to my Uncle John's in Kirby, or we'd go to my Auntie Patsy's, but sometimes obviously we couldn't go there. So we'd have to go with my mum to the caravan. And we'd just sort of entertain ourselves in the car, and we'd be letting the caravan now and again, and things like that. But I always remember my mum used to make us mugs of hot beef oxo, and we used to get bread and dip it in. And I remember going to macro to buy all of the bits for it, and there'd be big boxes of Mars bars and things like that. And we're like, oh mum, can we have a Mars bar? Or the big boxes of Oxo cubes, and sometimes we'd just eat the Oxo cube on its own, bite into the Oxo cube and things like that. And then from that, my mum then caught on to the idea that the Albert Docks were being built and all renovated into apartments and shops, and Granada Studios in Liverpool and things like that. So my mum got onto that idea and decided to set up a canteen at the Albert Dock, and she got our John Simpson to work with her on it. And I remember many a time going there and again drinking the hot Oxo and things like that, but mainly during that time, because obviously, you know, it's a bit different to today, because, you know, the risks involved in children being on a building site, they wouldn't hear of it today. But usually we'd end up going to my Auntie Patsy's or my Uncle John's, and we'd have a fab time with them. I mean, my Uncle John taught me how to play cards, and I've never forgotten all the patience games and everything like that that he used to play with me. And then we'd go to my Auntie Patsy's, and I'd play a game of Fashion Wheel with our Kim and my Auntie Patsy. So that was a next job. That was the next sort of step. And then from there she went to work in a place called TPT in Skelmersdale, and it was YTS training, and she was teaching everybody. She's going back to her early days of typing and shorthand and all secretarial skills and admin skills, and she went to work there. And even throughout all of that time, when she was working so hard, she was still able to take me and our Paul all the way to school in Rainford and St Anne's, because it's something they really wanted. Obviously, when my dad was home for 2 weeks, it would really help, because my dad would do all the running round like that. We'd drop my mum, and we only had one car at the time as well, and we'd drop my mum off at work, and then my dad would take us on to school. I mean, when I look back, it must have just been absolutely hectic, because it was just, but it was like a well-oiled machine, honestly. We just know exactly what we needed to do. And then later on, she started to do fashion shows of an evening as well. So she did TPT, she'd come home, she'd cook our tea, then she'd go out to the fashion show, and then she'd come home, we'd be going to bed, and then, I mean, looking back at it now, she's obviously done all the ironing, cleaning, everything like that, all while we've gone to bed. So I really don't know how you did it, Mum. Really don't know how you did it, but the energy you had in those days was just unbelievable. And now she's got the most fantastic job of all. Her place of work is my home. And she retired to look after her grandchildren, which couldn't thank you enough for, really. Just fantastic what you do for both of them. So thank you for that. And then my dad, obviously in his 2 weeks home, will come and give her a hand. Well, I don't know whether it's a hand or a hindrance half the time, because my dad just enjoys winding them up quite a lot of the time. So sometimes I don't know whether it's a hand or a hindrance, but couldn't thank you both enough for that, because obviously my dad's had to support my mum in retiring and making that decision so she could look after my Kitty and my Joseph. And I've got to say, she does an absolutely fantastic job of it. Really, really does.